Discover the heartwarming letter that stunned as CEO. One little girl's words changed everything. In a sleepy Midwestern town, where the scent of fresh laundry mingled with the sweet aroma of apple pie on lazy Sunday afternoons, a determined 10-year-old girl named Emma sat at her little desk. Her fingers gripped a crayon tightly, the vibrant color contrasting with the dull worries that lingered in her home. The sound of her parents whispering about bills and job loss floated through the thin walls of her bedroom. But Emma was resolute. She could feel their love for each other like the soft glow of the bedside lamp, warm and steadfast, even as shadows of uncertainty crept over their lives. In the face of her father's recent struggles at the factory, where layoffs cast a dark cloud over the community, Emma's heart ached. Inspired by the relentless work ethic of her father and the soothing touch of her mother's love, she began to write. Each word she penned poured out her sorrow and hopes, addressing a CEO who sat atop a corporate tower, far removed from the lives he impacted. "Dear Mr. Fletcher," she began, "I know you don't know me, but I hope my words reach your heart. My family and many others are hurting because your factory has changed." Her innocent yet powerful prose brimming with emotion lingered in the stillness of the night. When CEO Fletcher opened Emma's letter, he found himself drawn into the world of this little girl, uncomfortable yet captivated. She painted vivid pictures of families like hers, their nested dreams now at risk, forced to ration groceries and wonder if tomorrow would bring more uncertainty. Just like that, the graphs and spreadsheets he usually relied on transformed into real stories filled with struggle, love, and resilience. In that moment, as he read her heartfelt plea, an unexpected wave of reflection washed over him, urging him to confront his true responsibilities. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Emma's community banded together, neighbors lent each other a hand, sharing groceries and gathering at the local church. Hope flickered in their forge-like spirit, and Emma's family found warmth in the unity around them. But change was still needed. Determined to connect the dots between her little world and his towering corporate office, Mr. Fletcher decided to visit Emma's home. The meeting felt like a clash of worlds, the innocence of her laugh against the polished calm of his suit, the coziness of her family's warmth battling with his corporate indifference. As they sat across from each other, the air thick with unspoken fears and shared dreams, a truth began to dawn. Success isn't just numbers or profits. It's the people behind each story. As they talked, each second shifted the ground beneath them. Would the CEO embrace the human kindness echoed in Emma's words? Would his heart awaken to the realization of what their town truly needed? The tension hung in the air like the scent of rain on the earth, leaving them both standing on the edge, wondering what would come next. Emma's tiny living room felt both welcoming and foreign. The faded floral couches, thick with family memories, cradled Mr. Fletcher as he adjusted to the sudden weight of their reality. He couldn't help but steal glances at the pictures on the walls. A family camping trip, a school performance, and countless birthdays marked by smiles and balloons. Each photo whispered tales of hope. Emma's laughter echoed off the walls, a sound so pure it tugged at Fletcher's heartstrings. When she spoke about her school, her friends, and the dreams she had, like wanting to be a veterinarian, he felt the walls around his corporate life begin to crumble. She didn't just represent a lost statistic. She was the spark of possibility contained in every child. "Mr. Fletcher," she said, her small hands clasped tightly together, "if you could bring back some jobs, it would change so many lives. Like, my dad always says that work gives him purpose." His throat tightened as he absorbed her words. Here she was, 10 years old and already understanding the weight of responsibility, something he often overlooked in his pursuit of profits. Emma's cogent perspective was shifting something deep within him. "I can't promise anything overnight," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper, "but I can definitely look into it." Emma's eyes sparkled. Really? You'd do that? Absolutely, he nodded, feeling a mix of hope and guilt surge. But it's not just me. It's about your community too. Can we help? She asked brightly, her innocence cut through the layer of corporate logic that usually guided his decisions. Fletcher paused. Her genuine desire to be involved stirred something deep within him. Perhaps he shouldn't just be a man in a suit, but rather part of the solution, bringing more than just hope but action. Later, as he left Emma's home, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows behind him. He could still hear her laughter ringing in his ears, a sound that steered his thoughts away from spreadsheets and towards lives affected. His mind raced with ideas, possibilities, and conversations he needed to have back at the office. Back at his sleek, cold office, the walls felt almost suffocating, a stark contrast to the warmth of Emma's home. He slumped into his chair, the weight of his ties and responsibilities pressing down on him. But there was a flicker of determination, now a newfound urgency to champion the common good. The question lingered: how would the board react to a plan that prioritized community welfare over profits? As days turned into weeks, Fletcher found himself gathering data, reaching out to community organizers and industry experts while trying to prove to his board that investing in the community and its families would not just be a charitable act, but a smart investment long-term. However, as he prepared for the tense board meeting ahead, what no one anticipated was the unexpected confrontation he would face. With Emma's innocent hopes swirling in his mind, he braced himself for questions and challenges that would force him to stand firm. Would he be able to persuade the board to align with his vision? Would they understand the importance of those warm evenings in the little town filled with laughter and dreams? And in the midst of all that, he couldn't shake the thought: what if their decisions led to transformation both for the town and for himself? The heart of the matter loomed ahead, and he had no idea that one tiny child's courage would echo through the halls of the corporate skyscraper, leading to a crossroads that would change everything for everyone. The boardroom was a stark contrast to Emma's vibrant living room. Cold, polished surfaces met a sea of suits, each face wearing a mask of skepticism. Mr. Fletcher stood at the head of the long table, his heart pounding like a drum. As he reviewed his notes, he could almost feel Emma's hopeful gaze on him, urging him to act, to be brave. Mr. Fletcher, one of the board directors, interrupted, a seasoned man with a sharp, scrutinizing gaze. You've presented some interesting ideas here today, but I'm struggling to see the ROI of investing in these community programs you're proposing. Fletcher froze for a second, his mind racing. He had prepared for questions, but not like this. He could suddenly picture Emma, her bright eyes sparkling with dreams, and it propelled him to respond. It's not just about immediate financial returns, he began, voice steadying. It's about people's real lives. When communities thrive, businesses flourish. People support brands that support them. Murmurs ran through the room. He could sense their hesitation, their need for numbers, for safety, for conformity. Yet he couldn't back down. He had seen the impact of a stable job on families. He thought of Emma's dad, the pride in his work, and how it influenced Emma's future. Imagine, for a moment, he continued, if we become a company known for giving back. People want to root for the underdog, for the company that believes in its community. He locked eyes with them, his voice picking up emotion. There's a whole generation of children out there, like Emma, who see us not just as a faceless corporation, but as a partner in their growth. Mr. Fletcher watched as a few heads nodded subtly. It wasn't much, but it was enough to ignite a flicker of hope within him. He shared stories of families struggling to make ends meet, of children who relied on their parents' jobs for stability and encouragement. Each tale painted a richer picture than any data could deliver. Suddenly, Brenda, a board member known for her tough exterior, shifted in her seat. You talk about families, but what about our shareholders? They have vested interests too. Exactly, Fletcher replied quickly, a fire igniting in him. And if we invest in our community's future, we are actually investing in our own. Increased engagement, positive brand perception, and long-term loyalty could well surpass any short-term profits. It's about creating legacy. Silence hung in the air, thick and heavy. Fletcher felt the weight of their skepticism, but also a crack in the barrier of their doubt. Perhaps they were starting to see something in his vision. In that tense moment, he recalled something Emma had said. "Can we help?" Just those 3 words had the power to shift his mindset. He wasn't alone in this battle. "Let us consider," he added, a softer tone diminishing the tension, "proposing a pilot program in Emma's community. We can evaluate the impact after 6 months. If it shows promise, we extend it. If not, we reconsider." They exchanged glances, weighing his proposition. He felt optimism swirling around him. The balance of change felt closer. Before anyone spoke, another board member chimed in. "All right, let us discuss this. We owe it to ourselves to look deeper." Fletcher felt the clenching in his chest loosen slightly. Maybe they were ready to embrace change. But as the discussion unfolded, another voice broke in. "But what if this doesn't work?" Doubt still loomed like a cloud, threatening to shadow every flicker of hope. What if, after all this, the board turned him down? What if his vision of a brighter future for Emma, and kids like her, faded into a forgotten dream? Unbeknownst to him, Emma was not far away, drawing a picture of the world she wanted to see, unaware that her innocent courage was inspiring a man to challenge the very foundations of corporate logic. Would Mr. Fletcher find the strength to persevere for Emma and the community? Or would he back down in the face of pressure? As emotions pulled tighter around him, the next chapter of their intertwined stories hung in the balance. Fletcher's heart raced. Would they turn against him now? Each second stretched like an eternity as the board exchanged skeptical glances. He needed a breakthrough, something to rally their spirits. "Look, I know this isn't an easy sell," he said, voice firming with conviction. "But take a minute to think about what it would mean for us to invest in our community. It's not just charity. It's an opportunity. Just like Emma. She's full of hope. She believes in change. It's our chance to show that we believe in her, too." At that moment, behind the closed doors of the boardroom, all Fletcher could think about was Emma's radiant spirit. He could almost hear the laughter that echoed from her living room. Images of her sitting cross-legged on the floor, markers in one hand and a big smile on her face, filled his mind. She was vision personified, a reminder of the impact their company could have among families just like hers. "Mr. Fletcher," Brenda spoke again, her tone softer but still firm. "Are you saying that one letter, one little girl's dream, can drive your entire proposal?" Fletcher took a breath. "It's more than just a letter. It's her voice. It's the voice of every child who dreams of a better life, reaching out for support. What's more powerful than that?" He felt heat rise in him, a mixture of frustration and determination. "It's our chance to give them hope. And when you give hope, you inspire action, and that's where the ROI is." The room fell quiet once more as the board members processed his words. Fletcher could see the wheels turning in their minds, even if reluctantly. Each new silence felt like a stepping stone toward a yes or a plunge into defeat. Suddenly, Sarah, a younger board member who had mostly remained silent, leaned forward. "Maybe we could pilot this in Emma's neighborhood," she suggested, her eyes brightening. "We can track data, measure success, and if it truly brings a positive impact, expand it. It's low risk with the potential for high reward." Hope shimmered again in the room, and Fletcher grasped onto it firmly. "Exactly. We don't have to dive into the deep end. We can tiptoe in. Let us find out if we can create something real and meaningful." Someone cleared their throat. "All right, if we're moving forward, we need to outline specific metrics. We should set clear parameters for this pilot." Fletcher felt a surge of energy. It wasn't resolved yet, but the tide was shifting. "Of course, we can incorporate feedback from the community, hold regular meetings, adapt as needed. It's about collaboration." With every word, the atmosphere changed. Ideas flowed. Enthusiasm sparked. Fletcher could feel a team spirit among them rising, embracing his vision. Even the suits around the table seemed less intimidating now. They were part of something potential-laden. But just as hope began to solidify, that same skeptical voice broke through again, the very man who doubted him from the start. "And if this pilot fails? We risk shareholder confidence, Fletcher. You know how that impacts our bottom line." Fletcher's heart sank momentarily, the negativity creeping back. But then he thought of Emma, how her smile made the world feel so much brighter. What happens if we succeed? He countered, leaning forward. We inspire hope. We foster a community that rallies behind us. This is bigger than just profit margins. It's about legacy. The room was charged, a palpable energy coursing through the air. The discussions went deeper as voices rose and fell, plans morphing. Fletcher knew they still weren't fully on board, but they were wrestling with his ideas. Finally, Brenda nodded, albeit slowly. Let us take a vote. The tension in the room thrummed in anticipation. Would they trust him? Would they believe in Emma's dream as fiercely as he did? Each moment led to a question that lingered. If they said yes, could they truly change lives? As he faced them, the possibility loomed large. With Emma's voice carrying a weight only a child could bring, he wondered, would her innocent dreams alter the fate of many, or would they remain trapped in fear of failure? Behind the shimmering hope, yet another uncertainty awaited. Emma's drawing sat untouched on the table. She had illustrated her dreams, but little did she know, her fate and theirs was still being forged in the boardroom shadows. The vote hung in the air like a fragile bubble. Fletcher could almost see it shimmering, the anticipation so thick it felt like waiting for a thunderstorm. He scanned the faces around the table, searching for signs of agreement. Brenda caught his eye, her expression neutral, while the others were trapped in their own thoughts, weighing his proposal against their fears. All right, Brenda finally said, breaking the silence. All those in favor of moving forward with the pilot program, please raise your hands. Fletcher's breath caught in his throat. His heart thudded loudly, an unrelenting drumbeat against the quiet tension. Slowly, hands began to rise. They lifted cautiously, like leaves trembling in the wind. Sarah's was the first, her enthusiasm shining through her nervousness. One by one, more hands joined hers until Fletcher realized it wasn't just the younger members raising their hands. His heart soared as he saw the familiar hand of Carl, the staunchest traditionalist on the board, finally lifting. Then came Brenda's hand, almost hesitantly but determined. The vote was a majority. Yes, Fletcher exclaimed, a swell of relief washing over him. He couldn't help the smile that broke free, lighting up his face. Thank you, everyone. I promise we'll make this work. For Emma, and for our community. Cheers erupted from the back of the room, members exchanging relieved glances. A collective sigh of tension released like a popped balloon. As discussions shifted to logistics, Fletcher couldn't shake the anxious excitement fluttering in his chest. In that moment, he realized just how monumental this endeavor was. It wasn't just about the pilot program. It was about lives being changed, dreams being realized. It was about hope. Once the board meeting concluded, Fletcher headed out, his mind a whirlpool of possibilities. He grabbed his phone, scrolling through messages until he found one from Emma's mother, Jeannie. She had been anxiously waiting for news since Fletcher first shared their plans. He typed a quick reply, "We got the green light. We're moving forward with a pilot in Emma's neighborhood." As he hit send, a sense of exhilaration washed over him. But, beneath that thrill, gnawing doubt crept in. What if the pilot didn't go as planned? What if the community didn't respond? What if they failed? Pushing those fears aside, he headed toward Emma's house, needing to share the news in person. The further he drove, the more his heart raced. This was it, the moment he had envisioned. Standing in front of the vibrant blue door, he took a deep breath. When Jeannie opened it, her warm smile welcomed him. "Fletcher, you're just in time. Emma's waiting for you in the living room." He stepped inside, the chatter of children warming the space. Emma sat at her crafting table amidst a sea of crayons and paper, her curls bouncing with every excited movement. "Fletcher," she shrieked, racing toward him. "Didn't I tell you we'd make it happen?" Her grin spread across her face like sunshine breaking through clouds. Fletcher's heart melted. "You believed it well before I did. You're the reason we're here." He crouched to meet her eye to eye. "Emma, we're starting a project in your neighborhood that could change everything. Just like you wanted. Her voice shot up an octave, full of joy and wonder. Really? Like a real project? For all the kids? Yes, for everyone. Just imagine all the good things we can do. They spent time discussing the plans, Emma bubbling over with ideas. Her enthusiasm lit a fire in him, bathing him in warmth. It reminded him that change starts small, with a single spark that can ignite something big. But as he smiled and laughed with Emma, the gnawing thought lingered in the back of his mind: what if the weight of all their dreams rested too heavily on fragile shoulders? Later, as darkness fell, Fletcher headed back home, replaying the day's events. Excitement mingled with anxiety, and uncertainty danced on the edges of his mind. Would they be able to keep the promise made to that little girl, the promise of hope and change? Faint light glimmered in the distance, but ahead loomed many shadows. What were the next steps? How would they measure their impact? And could their dream really soar as high as Emma's laughter filled the air? The road ahead twisted with unanswered questions. With a heart both heavy and hopeful, Fletcher knew that everything was just beginning, but would it be enough to rival the challenges looming in wait? The next morning, Fletcher woke to the sounds of birds chirping outside his window. The sunlight poured in, illuminating the walls of his bedroom and warming his face. He sat up, taking a moment to absorb the weight of yesterday's victory. The pilot program was a go, but a quiet apprehension still wrapped around his thoughts. He knew this was just the beginning. After a quick breakfast, he grabbed his notes and headed to the community center. Today was the day they would gather the local families, share their plans, and ignite the spark of excitement that Emma had shown him. The air buzzed with potential, but he couldn't ignore the lingering doubts. What if the community didn't embrace it? As he walked through the hall, he noticed old posters hanging on the walls, faded but filled with memories. They called to him, reminding him of how this center once buzzed with activity. The space was alive, a hub of laughter and learning. Fletcher wanted to bring that energy back. A small crowd gathered in the meeting room. Fleeting glances turned to curious stares as he entered. The room smelled of strong coffee and freshly baked donuts, and a nervous tingle settled in his stomach. "All right, let us get started," he announced, raising his voice over the murmur of chatter. He began by recounting his own childhood and the joy of those simple community moments. People leaned in closer, connecting with his story. "We're here to start something new for our kids," he said, revealing the plans for the pilot program. "A way to create opportunities for everyone, just like you always dreamed." Excitement rippled through the room. Parents nodded, some whispering to one another, their faces lighting up at the thought of what this could mean for their children. The challenge was to transform their dreams into reality. Fletcher could feel the energy shift, the weight of doubt shifting off his shoulders. Then came a small voice from the back of the room. "What about Emma?" It was little Lily, a girl Emma had befriended in school. She had always been shy, but today, her courage stunned them all. Fletcher felt his heart flutter. Emma is at the heart of this program, and her enthusiasm is what sparked the idea. She believes in this just as much as we do. Lily's eyes sparkled. "Are we going to help more kids like her?" "Exactly," he said, his voice steady. "We're going to create a space where every child can find their passion." Questions flooded in, parents wanting to know how they could help, what they could bring to the project. Fletcher felt his confidence soar as he answered each query, discussing plans for art classes, tutoring sessions, and community events. After the meeting, a familiar face approached him. Jeannie, Emma's mother. There was gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you for believing in this, Fletcher. Emma talks about you all the time. You've given her something to be excited about." Before he could respond, another parent chimed in, a sense of urgency in his voice. "Fletcher, there's one thing we haven't discussed. What if we face setbacks? What if it doesn't work?" Those words struck a chord, the same worries that had danced in Fletcher's mind last night. "Every journey has bumps along the road," he replied honestly. "But together we can face those challenges. This isn't just my vision. It belongs to us all." As they shared smiles and pledges of support, Fletcher felt a flicker of hope. But even as his heart swelled, he couldn't shake the question. How would they rally the community if times got tough? Would everyone still believe when faced with real obstacles? Driving home, he glanced at Emma's drawings in the passenger seat, bright and full of promise. He knew they had taken the first step, but with every brave step forward, uncertainty lurked like a shadow. In the days to come, there would be hurdles, and the path would twist like a river. But could they navigate the bends ahead? As the sun dipped below the horizon, Fletcher took a deep breath, whispering a silent wish for strength. Who would rise to help carry the burden and transform those dreams into reality? The road ahead still awaited, sparkled with hope but littered with unknowns. Fletcher's thoughts swirled as he drove home, the weight of the meeting still pressing on his shoulders. He replayed the faces in the crowd, the mix of hope and skepticism. He wanted so badly to believe they could pull it off, but doubt creaked like an aging floorboard beneath him. Once he arrived home, he tossed his bag onto the kitchen table, the familiar scent of baked bread wafting from the oven. Emma's drawing still sat in the passenger seat, a colorful reminder of the passion that fueled this journey. Just then, his phone buzzed with a message. It was a picture of a letter, and beneath it, a caption from Jeannie. "I thought you might want to read this." Curiosity piqued, he opened the image. The letter was scribbled in bright crayon, each word a burst of childhood innocence. "Dear Fletcher," it began, "thank you for making something special for us. I want to help. I can draw pictures for the center. Can we call it Emma South Dream Place? I want every kid to smile. Love, Emma." Fletcher felt a lump in his throat. He could barely comprehend the weight of her words. This was more than a letter. It was a declaration of possibility. Suddenly, the doubts that haunted him melted away, and a smile broke through. He read the letter again. Emma South Dream Place. It resonated, holding the essence of their mission. Her delightful notion wrapped around his heart like a warm blanket. What if they really could do this? What if they could transform his initial idea into something larger than life? That night, Fletcher couldn't sleep. Ideas flowed through him like electricity, and he grabbed a notebook. He jotted down concepts for workshops, community collaborations, and fun events. They could host art shows to feature kids' art, a weekly open mic night, or even a talent showcase. He wanted people to step into Emma South Dream Place and feel a wave of inspiration wash over them. But as enthusiasm ignited within him, another worry loomed. How would they fund all of this? He unraveled his plans further, sketching out ideas for fundraising efforts and potential partnerships. But deep down, the thought of going door to door asking for support made his stomach twist. The next day, he arrived at the community center early, anxious to share Emma's letter with the families. He felt a renewed sense of purpose as he rehearsed what he would say. Emma's dreams were too vibrant to ignore. They had to honor her vision as parents poured in. He could see the sparkle of hope mirrored in their eyes. Fletcher took a deep breath, holding Emma's letter carefully in hand. "I have something special to share," he announced, a grin spreading across his face. But just as he began reading, the sound of hurried footsteps interrupted him. A group of parents rushed into the room, urgency etched on their faces. "Fletcher, you won't believe what just happened," one of them exclaimed, breathless with excitement. Fletcher's heart raced. "What is it?" he asked, eyes wide. "It's about Emma and her drawings." Would this news deepen their resolve or throw them into chaos? As uncertainty floated in the air, Fletcher realized that this moment could change everything. Fletcher's breath caught in his chest as he looked at the parents' anxious faces. The room felt charged with anticipation, like a spring storm ready to burst. "What happened?" he pressed, unable to keep the urgency out of his voice. One of the mothers, Sarah, stepped forward, her eyes wide. "Emma's drawings, they've been noticed. A local art gallery wants to showcase them. They're interested in hosting an exhibit to raise funds for the center." Time seemed to pause. Fletcher blinked, his mind racing. "An exhibit?" he echoed, a hopeful smile creeping onto his face. "Yes." Another parent chimed in, enthusiasm breaking through the worry that had been building. "They see how talented Emma is, and they want to bring attention to her cause. They think her vision could inspire others." Fletcher clutched the letter in his hand tighter, the pages crinkling slightly under his grip. This could be huge, he whispered, barely able to process the news. Families gathered closer, their expressions shifting from uncertainty to infectious excitement. We could use this opportunity to spread the word to gather more support, he added, his voice lifting with optimism. Emma South Dream Place might actually become a reality. Everyone erupted into a flurry of conversation, voices rising with ideas. Some offered to hang flyers, others suggested they reach out to local businesses for sponsorship. Fletcher smiled as the room buzzed with energy. This was what he had hoped for, community working together for a hopeful cause. As the brainstorming continued, Fletcher felt a warmth bloom in his chest. But amidst the joy, a shadow of doubt flickered at the edges of his mind. Could they truly pull this off? What if the gallery's interest wasn't enough? What if they struggled to fill the space, to convey the importance of Emma South Dream Place? He shook his head slightly, willing the doubts away. Now wasn't the time for hesitation. His daughter's dreams rested in his hands, and he had to trust in the people around him. Let us set a date for the exhibit, he declared, trying to instill firm resolve. We'll need time to prepare the artwork and promote it. Who's with me? A chorus of voices echoed back, affirming his call. They were in this together, fueling one another's hopes. And for Fletcher, each word was a reassurance, stitching together the threads of fear and hope. As the meeting wrapped up, the excitement still crackled in the air. Fletcher stood back, watching as parents started to leave, energy and resolve emanating from them like light. His heart soared, but as he looked at the drawings pinned to the community center's walls, he was still faced with one lingering question. What if they failed to meet Emma's expectations? Later that evening, Fletcher laid in bed with the letter resting on his chest. He imagined the day when Emma South Dream Place opened its doors, filled with laughter and art, a sanctuary for every child. The thought was more than a dream. It was a responsibility he felt pressed to uphold. Just before sleep took him, a notification pinged on his phone. He lifted it to find a message from Jeannie. We need to talk about the logistics for the gallery. There's something else I found out. Fletcher's heart sped up again. What could that be? Was another challenge waiting to unfold? Or was it more good news? The uncertainty whispered in his ear as he drifted into a restless sleep, the weight of possibilities heavy upon him. Fletcher woke the next morning to sunlight streaming through his window. The first impulse was to grab his phone, heart still racing at the thought of Jeannie's message. He quickly tapped her name, eager for answers. Good morning. Sorry to wake you early, but it's important, her message read. Can we meet at the coffee shop in an hour? I found out about a potential donor who might be interested in Emma's project. His pulse quickened at the words potential donor. Hope surged, but eclipsed by anxiety. What if this donor didn't choose them? What if one more door closed? Fletcher shook off the negativity. Today was supposed to be about possibilities, not fears. After a hasty breakfast, he dressed and headed out. The morning air was crisp and filled with a kind of potential he hadn't noticed before. Each step was more deliberate, his heart steadying as he repeated to himself that this was just a conversation one step closer to Emma's dream. The coffee shop was warm and inviting, filled with the comforting aroma of roasted beans. Fletcher spotted Jeannie seated at a corner table, her expression serious. She waved him over, and he could feel his excitement bubbling beneath the surface. Thank you for coming, she said as he settled in. She took a deep breath before diving into details. The gallery's director spoke with a corporate partner who feels moved by Emma's story. They're considering sponsoring the exhibit. Fletcher's eyes widened. No way. That's incredible. He could hardly believe it. And there's more. Jeannie continued, her voice lower as if sharing a secret. They might be willing to cover the costs of the exhibit and help with promotion. But there's one big catch. His heart sank. What's the catch? They want to see a powerful presentation on how the Dream Place could impact the community. She explained. The more compelling your story is, the more likely they'll come on board. Fletcher felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. So we have to convince them? Exactly. This could be a turning point for Emma South Dream Place. You need to be the voice of her dreams. The gravity of her words left him momentarily speechless. He was good at sharing Emma's vision. He'd done it countless times. But this felt different, more crucial, as if the entire future hung on the words he chose. What do I need to do? He asked, determination welling inside him. Jeannie's smile returned, the light sparking in her eyes again. Let us gather stories from the children who come to the center and their families. Their experiences will resonate. It's the heart of the dream place. If we show how important it is, I believe we'll make them see the bigger picture. Fletcher nodded, feeling a plan form as he listened. They spent the next hour brainstorming, writing down snippets of stories, feelings, and experiences. Each note was a thread weaving together the hopes of countless families into a compelling narrative. But as the meeting wound down, one question loomed large in his mind. What if our stories aren't enough? What if they still walk away? Jeannie placed a comforting hand on his arm. You have something special, Fletcher. Emma's heart shines through in every piece she creates. Trust in that which means trusting yourself. Leaving the coffee shop, Fletcher felt a mix of pressure and hope swirling within him. They were so close, yet the stakes felt higher than ever. As he walked back home, his thoughts were filled with visions of the future, of laughter and creativity. But doubt nagged at him, like a persistent shadow. How would they find the right words to convey the strength of Emma's dream? He paused at the community center's door, once again staring at the drawings that adorned its walls. Each image pulsed with life, but could he truly turn that energy into something powerful enough to inspire others? With a sigh, he stepped inside. Today would mark the beginning of the most important chapter yet. But first, they needed those stories. He felt a surge of resolve wash over him. But before he could act, a flash of movement caught his eye. A small girl, her hands stained with paint, was staring curiously at Emma's drawings. Fletcher's heart raced. This was what it was all about. Their dreams. He knelt down to her level. What's on your mind? He asked, hoping her words would help dispel his doubts. She smiled shyly and pointed at a specific drawing. It looks like a place where I can be myself. As Fletcher listened to her innocent hope, a thought sparked in his mind. Would her words carry the weight they needed for the upcoming presentation? Could they spark a movement bigger than he ever imagined? The days flew by, each one blending into the next, filled with the hustle of emails, meetings, and community gatherings. Fletcher found himself on the front lines of a movement, an army of families united by Emma's vision. The excitement of the art exhibit approached like a tidal wave, and the anticipation was palpable. On the morning of the showcase, the community center buzzed with life. Walls adorned with Emma's vibrant artwork filled the air with inspiration. Parents, children, and neighbors mingled, their laughter mingling with the scent of fresh coffee and baked goods. Fletcher felt an electric charge in the air, but buried beneath his excitement was a nagging worry. Would enough people show up? Would the stories be powerful enough to convince the corporate sponsor? With every person who entered, a flicker of hope ignited within him. They had gathered stories about how the center had become a refuge for young minds, stories about friendship, overcoming fear, and feeling safe to pursue their dreams. Emma's laughter rang out, and her small hands moved animatedly as she mingled with her friends, each of them beaming with pride at their collective effort. As the time approached for the presentation, Fletcher felt the weight of his role settle over him. There was so much riding on this moment. He glanced at Emma, who now stood proudly among her drawings, explaining them to anyone who asked. The little girl, filled with hope and encouragement, had turned into a radiant beacon, lighting the way for others. Finally, it was time. Fletcher stepped up to the makeshift podium, heart racing. The crowd hushed, eager eyes focused on him. Thank you all for being here today, he began, his voice steady despite the nerves. What started as a tiny dream, a simple letter from a 10-year-old girl, has transformed our community into something beautiful. He paused, taking a moment to scan the room. Families sighed, anticipating what would come next. Fletcher continued, Emma South Dream Place isn't just about art. It's about hope, connection, and believing in the power of community. As he shared stories, ones that moved hearts, brought laughter, and evoked tears, Fletcher felt the room pulsate with energy. He spoke of how families came together when times were tough, of hope flickering in tiny smiles, and of how Emma's courage had inspired them all to dream bigger. Then, he turned to Emma, who stood at his side, wide-eyed and beaming. "This is Emma," he said, his voice softening, "the girl who dared to dream, and who showed us the power of a single voice." The crowd erupted into applause as Emma shyly waved, her spirit radiating joy. The presentation ended with a short video made of clips and photos documenting the lives impacted by the community center. Fletcher could feel the energy shift. Something was happening. Each clip of children creating art, laughing, and learning resonated deeply. Romances were ignited, minds opened, and hearts united. As the presentation concluded, the gallery director rose to speak. "I must say," she began, voice steady, "what began as a simple exhibit has unveiled something extraordinary. And it is with great joy that we announce." She paused, and the crowd leaned in, eyes bright with anticipation. "We will sponsor Emma South Dream Place." Cheers filled the room, and Fletcher's heart swelled. Emma squealed in delight, her joy contagious. The air crackled with excitement, and for a moment, all doubts faded into the background. Tears of happiness glimmered in their eyes, blending the thrill of achievement with the understanding of what they had accomplished together. Later, as the crowd slowly dispersed, Fletcher felt a tremendous gratitude wash over him. He looked down at Emma. She was still aglow with happiness, surrounded by friends. "You did it, Emma," he whispered, emotion choking his voice. "You changed everything." Emma turned to him with tears in her eyes and hugged him tightly. "We did it together." In that moment, Fletcher knew this victory wasn't just his or Emma's. It belonged to every single person in their community. It was an affirmation of what they could accomplish when they believed in each other. The shadows of uncertainty vanished, replaced by the light of transformation. As they all packed up for the day, Fletcher looked out of the community center's doors, where the sun was setting, casting a golden glow over everything. Hope shimmered like the fading light, and he felt inspired to continue this journey. "Let us keep this going," he thought, and just as he vowed to, he knew they would. Together, they had unlocked potential, a future bright and infinite, ready to soar to new heights. But even amid the triumph, one thing lingered. A deep-rooted question remained, not about doubts but something more profound. What stories would they write next? How would they continue to transform lives? As he watched Emma laughing with her friends, Fletcher felt the certainty that as long as they held on to their dreams, anything was possible. Now, fueled by the echoes of laughter and hopeful whispers, it was time to embrace the next chapter. This is where you come in. You need to subscribe now to our channel. Don't miss the next exclusive stories that will fill your heart with joy and inspiration. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It truly makes a difference for our community. Comment below what you felt while reading this inspiring ending. And for everyone who needs to see this transformation, don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends. They deserve to feel this wave of hope, too. Your support matters. Let us keep this incredible journey alive together.